Hi everyone, welcome back to Everyday Excel, where I run tutorials like this to teach you everything about Microsoft Excel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create different types of common graphs and charts in Excel so you can turn your data into powerful visualizations for your audience. We'll be covering 10 basic types of graphs today, so you can see them here on screen. And if you want to learn about any of these charts specifically, then check the description below where I've timestamped each chart so it's easy for you to find. So if you want to become an expert in creating charts in Excel in general, then keep watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos. And if you find them helpful, you can show some support by clicking that like button, and be sure to check out my other videos. Here we go. So first I'm going to show you how to create a line chart. So what you want to do is have your set of data set up. I've got some data set up, as you can see here, and you want to have your data set up so you have, in this first column here, you'll have what you want on your x-axis, which is usually time for a line chart, and you'll have your different series, so different things that you want to show on your chart. Now, what is a line graph actually useful for? They're useful for showing the change in your data over time, or comparing changes in data sets over time. So how do we create one of these? You'll insert your data, you'll set your data up like this. You can highlight the cells that the data's in. You come up to your insert tab up here, and you have charts in this section here. Now you can click this recommended charts and it will come up with the full menu, or you can find the different type of chart you want on these smaller icons here. So this one here is a line chart. You have lots of different options here. I'm going to choose this 2D line here, and it will create this chart. Now what is this showing me? This is showing me for my product 1. Let's say that these are sales over time. So it's showing me the sales over the last 10 years and how that's been trending. Let's say I want to compare this against a few different products. Now you can either start from scratch and highlight all of your data here and do the same process as I just did, inserting a new chart. Or since I have this one already set up, I can click it here. When it shows that your data here is highlighted, then I can click when it comes up with this little arrow, as you can see on the little black arrow, and drag that across, and it will add on the other products that we have. So I like to remove the borders off my charts. I think it looks a bit tidier, and I usually make this a little bit of a different color here. But now you've created a basic line chart over time, showing the trends in your data. Now what else can you do with a line chart? You can do lots of things. So let's say you want to make a smooth line, so you can right click the line here, come down to Format Data Series, and it will bring up this sidebar here. If you click this paint icon here, you've got all these different selections. So maybe you want to make your line chart a bit fatter, so you can use that here, the width. You can make it into dashes if you want dashes, depending on what you're showing. I'm going to keep mine as a solid line. Or down here you've got an option to smooth it. So let's say we want this one to be smooth. You'll probably make them all smooth, but let's just do this as an example and make this smooth. Now what else can you do to these? You can add data labels. So let's say I want to know exactly what these data points are at the point of each year. You can right click this and hit add data labels. It will come up with the data labels like this. Now it looks a bit messy like this because it's sort of crossing over and whatnot. So what I like to do is right click and format my data labels, and over here you've got label position. I'll center these, and then what I'm going to do is I'll fill it the same color as my line. So let's say that it's this color, and then I can make my data labels bold, and maybe I want a white font, and now you can see that over time there as well. So that sort of covers a basic line chart, how to create it, and some of the things that you can edit and format your chart. If I scroll down here, I've got some examples of different line charts. So here we have Apple's stock price over the last 3 years. So Apple is this dark grey line here, and I've compared that against the NASDAQ index, which is this red line here. I've also included a 50-day moving average for Apple, which is this dotted blue line here. So this is an example of what you can use it for. I've got Apple's share price, as I said, the dark one here is running on this left-hand axis, and the NASDAQ is running on the right-hand axis, which is what this left-hand side and right-hand side here stands for. Now, another way that you can use a line chart is to plot the same piece of data over, let's say, months of the year. Here we've got something, let's say it's your inventory or your sales or your accounts receivable over the months of the year, and you're comparing it year on year. So the blue line here we have is 2018, and then it starts at 2019, and let's say we're only a bit way into 2020 or 2021 now, but you can use these line charts to plot the trends and analyze the trends over time and over years. So that's a couple of ways that you can use line charts, and they're very easy to create. Now if we come on to bar charts, now bar charts are quite similar to a line chart. You'll show the total of your data, or the total of your data set that you want to show, and again you'll usually be showing this over time, or you'll be comparing things. So let's say we want to compare, carrying on the theme of Apple, Apple's sales data for their different types of products. So here I've got the breakdown of what they sell, so their iPhone sales, Mac, iPad, wearables and accessories, and services. So again, I'll highlight my data here, I'll come up to insert. This one here is the bar chart, and I'll insert that. And then now we have the 2018 sales here, and it's broken down by the different products that they sell. So let's say I actually want to compare this over time, so I can drag this out here, and now I have a quick chart where I can compare year on year. So we might actually want a legend for this, so we can tell what the different colors mean. So if you come up here to chart design, on the left here you have add chart element, come down to legend, and let's put it at the bottom, and now you've got a legend, so you know what color represents what column. So here we've got 2018, 19 and 20. You can see iPhone sales have actually been declining, and all of their other product categories have actually been increasing. So what else can you do with these bar charts? Let's say we want to see all of these, you can actually switch the row and the column data. So let's say we want to see it grouped by year instead of grouped by product. You can do that as well. I would have to fix my legend here. But you can do that simply by coming up to chart design and hitting this switch row and column data. Now I think for what we're looking at here, this is a better way to look at this data. You want to group the products together and look at the changes in them year on year. You don't necessarily want to see the breakdown of the products within the year. We'll come on to that into the stack bar next. So what are some examples of uses of bar charts? So let's say you want to analyze your top 20 salespeople, or your top 20 products, or your top 20 stores. You can rank these quite easily. Now this is a horizontal bar chart. When you have lots of different data, it makes it easier to read here. So this is just an example of the top 20, as I said, and then let's say over here you have revenue and EBITDA of a business over time, and I've just added some data labels here so you can see the breakdown of revenue and EBITDA over the 10-year period. So that's another example of what you can use a bar chart for. Next we have stacked bar charts. So what are stacked bar charts good for? They're good for showing the breakdown of the total of something over time and the trends in that breakdown. So there's different ways that you can create these here. Let's carry on with our theme that we were just on with the product categories of Apple. So let's say we want to analyze all of this data here. So I'm going to select the data again. I'm going to come up to my insert tab. I'll come to my bars, and this one here is a stacked column chart. And in this scenario here, I don't want to see a breakdown of it I don't want to see the product broken down year on year. I want to see the year broken down by those products. So I'm going to come up to my chart design and switch my row and column data. And now you can see a better breakdown of the different products. Now there's lots of things you can do with charts, but let's say we want to change up chart colors because you don't like the colors. There's lots of different themes here. Let's go with this one here for now. If you wanted to add on data labels, for example, you can right click here and hit add data label, and that will add the figures that we've got here. So it's up to you what you want to show, but that's just an example what you can do. Something that I quite like to do is, well, even though you can hover over these and see the values, let's say we'll right click whatever our top category is, and I'm going to go add data label. And although you can't really see this now, I'm going to right click it. I'm going to format my data label, And what I want to do is I want to show the total. So I'm going to choose from here value from sales. And what are the totals that I want to show? It's these three figures here. I'll hit OK. It's going to give me both the total and the amount for this category, which is services in this example. Now I'm going to take the value off for services and I'll keep just the value of the total revenue. And then I'm simply just going to drag these so they sit above the column. And then now you have your breakdown, but you also know your total revenue, which in this case is millions of US dollars. So that's one way to show a stack bar over time, because you can see the total, how the total is changing. In this case, it doesn't change too much. Okay, so that's one way that you can use a stack bar chart to show the changing totals over time, but also the changing mix in product category in this example. What else can you use a stack bar for? You can also use 100% stack bar charts. So I'll show you how to create one of those, and what it's going to show you is the breakdown of the total by percentage. So if I come up and hit insert, I'm going to come to my bar chart again, and it's this far on the right here. So I again need to switch my row and column data. And let's come out to the right here, make it a bit bigger so you can read it. And now this gives you a breakdown in percentages of the change in the mix. So even though iPhone sales were decreasing, obviously they're decreasing as a percentage quite significantly as well. And as you can see here, services are growing quite considerably. They're going from about 15% to about 20% of Apple's overall revenue. So that's a few examples on how to use a stack bar chart as well. Next we're going to look at pie and donut charts. So what are these good for? They're quite useful for showing and analysing the breakdown of a data set for a particular period, and analysing proportions of variables relative to each other, so it gives you a bit of a slice. So again, if I highlight the data here, I don't want my total, I just want to break down off that total. I'm going to hit insert. You've got a pie chart here, and we'll just select this first one, and it's going to give me a breakdown of my 2020 revenue. Now for this here, I may want to show the percentages, and I may not want a legend, so let's just delete the legend. I'm going to right click, I'm going to add data labels, and maybe I just want to show the percentages. So if I come in and go to format data labels, then on the right here, I'll select percentage, I'll turn the value off, and then I'll select the category name. Now you may just want to drag each of these off so it's a bit easier to read. And there you go, you've got a breakdown of the revenue, breakdown of the 2020 revenue as a pie chart. Now something I also like to do instead of a pie chart is a donut chart. So if we hit insert here, come to the pie chart again, you've got donut here. So it's effectively going to look very similar to pie chart. Maybe in this one I'll keep my legend. If I right click the chart, I can go format data series. Over here you've got the donut hole size. And let's say I just want to make this a bit thicker. And let's again put data labels on. And I'm going to format those and just show the percentages. And I'll make it bold and white. And you can resize this as well. And sometimes what I like to do is put a text box in the middle with the total. So if we have this total here, and if you come up to the formula bar, you can hit equals, and we can link it to this cell here. And then I'll center align it. And maybe I want it a little bit bigger. And we don't want any outline on this either. So I'll take the outline away. Now, if we change this cell to be in US dollars, then it will update here as well. And maybe in custom setting here, I'll put a million on the end, so I know it's in millions. And there we go. Now we've got a breakdown of the total revenue, and we know what the total is in the middle. So that's a couple ways that you can use pie and donut charts. Now, what is a tree map? A tree map is quite similar to a pie chart, and it breaks down things relative to each other to show proportions. So it's just a different way of showing it. You might like to show this in a presentation that you're doing, just as something different to a pie chart. So how do you insert one of those? The same method as we have with all these other ones. So you'll come up here, and this one here is a tree map. So I'll insert and go tree map here, and then just like the pie chart, it will break these down into the relative chunks. So you can obviously see that iPhone sales are quite a large majority of the total sales, and a sort of breakdown of your other types of sales here as well. So it's just a bit of an alternative to a pie chart. Now next we have what are called either waterfall or bridge charts. You'll hear them used sort of interchangeably. It just depends on who you're talking to. They're good for illustrating the sort of bridge from two figures, so how do you get from one to another, and they're good for analysing variances. So let's say we want to look at 2018 sales, and we want to know what changed in the year to get to the total 2019 sales, and let's do 2020 as well. So I'll show you how to do that. So you'll set up your data, something like this. I've got the information from Apple's investor relations from their annual reports, and I've just entered these in here for 2018, 19 and 20, and then I've calculated the year-on-year variance between the two. So this is how you want to set up your data like this. So we want to have 2018 as a total, and I'm going to link that to this cell here, which is my total sales, and then I'm going to link 2019 to 18 variances in line with the product categories here. So I'll copy these down, and then 2019 should equal the sum of all of these. So you want to check that these two match the same, and they do. And then I'm going to do the same process for the 2019 to 2020 variances, and then we'll sum that again, and yep, my two totals match. Next, you're just going to insert the chart. So I'll highlight all of my data. I'll come up to the Insert tab, and this one here on this small one here is called the Waterfall chart, and I'll click this button, and it's going to insert a chart like this, and it's going to look a bit funny at the start. So we have to format this a bit. So I'm going to pull it out wide like this. I'll remove my title and my legend, and then what you want to do is for each of the columns that you want as a total, you click it until the other ones are sort of greyed out, and then you're going to right click that one and come down here and go set as total. And we want to do that for both of our totals, both our 2019 and our 2018 totals, and now you can see it's looking a bit right. But because these numbers are so high, it skews the graph a bit, so you can't really see as well these variances. So maybe you want to adjust your y-axis here. So how do you do that? We're going to right click, come down to format axes, and let's put it at, let's say 200 million, and that should give us good sort of visibility on what's actually changing. So yeah, we could almost squeeze that up a bit more, but this gives you a better sort of look here. So now you can see 2018 sales total were here. iPhone sales dropped quite dramatically, 22 million. Mac sales were slightly up. iPad sales were slightly up. So were the wearables and services, and the combination of all of those get you 2019 sales. 2020, again, iPhone sales were down on the last year, but all of the other areas were up, and now you've got 2020 sales here. So this is a good way to sort of walk through, and that's what it's called sometimes. Some people will call this a revenue walk. So it'll walk you through what's changed year on year. You can also use this, let's say this was 2018 sales. You could use that to get to the 2018 profitability, for example. Maybe you're looking at EBITDA. You would take your sales, less your cost of goods sold, and your operating expenditure and so on, to get your EBITDA as a total down here. So it's a good way to show variance analysis as well. Next we have area charts. So area charts are sort of like a line chart, but you've got the area underneath filled. So you want to set up your data where you've got your x-axis variables here and your series alongside it here. So I'm again going to highlight my data, come up to my Insert tab. Under the line chart menu, you have area down here, and I want a stacked area chart in this example. So let's say these are unit volumes of my product. So I sold 75 units of this product in my first year and 25 of product 2, and I wasn't selling product 3 yet. So in total I've sold 100 units. So I want to show the total, and these are stacked on top of each other. So then you can see product 3, we start selling that in 2013, and product 1's sales are actually decreasing in units, and the others are increasing, but you can also see your total here is increasing as well. So it's useful for showing again the change in some variables over time and tracking those breakdowns. So next we've got a Scatterplot chart. So these are very useful for analysing the relationship and trends between two different variables. So let's say an example, I work in investment banking, and maybe you want to look at the relationship of some companies where they trade, their EV, enterprise value to EBITDA multiple, in relation to the profitability margin or the EBITDA margin that they're making. So again, you want to set up your data like so, where you've got two variables, and we're going to highlight all of this data here, and I'll go Insert, and this one here with the dots is a scatter plot, and we're just going to click on this here. So here on the x-axis, I'm just going to adjust it, and maybe I'll put a minimum multiple of 6. And we've got our margin up the left hand side and where it's currently trading on the right hand side, and this is just a good way to show the relationship between the two. So as the multiple is going up, the relationship in this sort of situation is showing that the higher the profitability, the higher the company is currently trading at. So you can also use these, if you right click it, you can add a trend line. So you can see the average of all of your data points here, and you can see which companies are trading above or below. Now this is just one example of how to use a scatter plot. There's many sort of examples, but this is an example of what I might use it for. Next we have the maps function, which I don't see too many people use, but it can be really powerful in some situations to create things like heat maps. So let's say we've got the sales of a company that you work for or that you're analysing for any particular period by country. So what we want to do is, again, you're going to have your data set up like this. These are just all made up figures. They don't really relate to anything. It's just to show the graph. But you're going to come up here, and you're going to go into Insert, and you've got this Maps button here. So if you click Maps button, Filled Map, and now we have a map of the world, and it's a bit of a heat map. So as you can see, it's got a bit of a scale here. So the darker the country is, the higher the number that you're looking at, and you can hover over these here. It'll tell you USA, and the value is 300, China 550 because it's at the top here, and you can just do a bit of analysis on a heat map basis like this. It could be good for looking at populations, could be good at looking at sort of revenue, as we discussed. Obviously coronavirus is a big thing right now. Maybe you want to look at the infection rates of countries, or how many people have been vaccinated, those types of things. You could build something like that very easily, and they're quite dynamic as well. So some examples of other maps I've just got down here. So I'm from New Zealand, but I just wanted to show you can even break down small countries by the different regions. So if you're working at a company that here have sales in different regions, you can do that here. And likewise, I've got a map of America here with all the different states. As long as you've got all the different states in the information, then you can create a heat map of individual countries like that as well. And last but not least, we've got combo charts. So combo charts are where you want to put two charts into one and together. It's a good way to show different types of data that are best shown through one method, but showing them both on the same chart. So I'll show you how to make one of these here. So let's say again we've got a couple products here, and maybe we want to show what the average is, but we want to show it as a line, but we also want to show our products as a column or a bar. So we can highlight all of our data here. I'm going to go to Insert, and we're going to insert a bar chart, and I'll put it in like so. And I actually want my average. I don't want it to be a bar, I want it to be a line. So how do you do that? So if you click your chart and you come up to the chart design button here, you can hit this button here called Change Chart Type, and then it's going to give you all the different options that we've been building today. But right at the bottom here you've got Combo Chart. So if I hit Combo Chart here, it's actually already done it for me, but you can change each of your series into a different chart type, but I want to keep this one as clustered column, and I want my average to actually be a line. So you could run this on a secondary axis as well if you like, if you wanted to, but in this case I want them all on the one axis, so I'll just hit OK. And now as you can see, my average has changed from a bar into a line. And let's say I'm just going to format this. Maybe I want it to be this red sort of color, and I just want it to be a sort of dotted line, so you can see when you're above or below the average in this scenario. Maybe it's a cap, or it can be whatever you want. This is just a bit of an example. So it's a very powerful way to combine two charts into one. Another example of what that might be useful for is showing a company's sales, and then also showing their profitability margin. So again, I'm going to highlight my data here, and let's say I want to insert a bar chart. Now, because this is in percentages and this is in whole numbers, the margin doesn't even show up on here. So I'm going to have to, again, come up to my chart design, change my chart type, change the combo, and I want my margin to be a line here, and I want it to be on the secondary axis. And now you can see immediately, now we've got our margin here, which is running on this right axis, and we've got our blue line here, which is sales, running on our left axis. So if I make that a bit bigger for you, now you've got a sort of nice looking chart here. Let's say I want to format this. I want it to be a smooth line, and let's say you want to have some markers on it. So you can click this here, you've got built-in markers. You can choose what different types you want. I quite like the diamonds, and maybe we'll make it a wee bit bigger. Maybe I want it to have a white center, and maybe I want the outline to be a bit thicker. And let's say you want your bars to be a bit wider as well. You can click your bars, hit this format data series here, and you've got gap width, and let's take this down to 100%. And as you can see, it's made the bars a bit wider. You could also right click, add data labels, and now you've got all your revenue figures sitting on top of here as well. So that's a sort of good way to show the sales and margin of a company over time as well in one simple chart. So that's all I wanted to show you today. Thank you for watching along. I hope you've learnt something new, and you've learnt about some new charts that you might be able to implement yourself. If you want to learn how to turn these charts into a dynamic dashboard, then be sure to go check out my tutorials on how to create dynamic interactive dashboards. I'll put the link up here. Or if you're looking for some other Excel tips and tricks videos, then you can check those out too on my channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any new content, and thank you very much for watching.